Hi guys, Julia here from JM Squared Vintage. Welcome back to the channel. Today I am here with something a little bit different. You guys loved when I did this last year, so I figured I would make it an annual thing. Today we are going to go through every single one day and same day sale that I had in 2025. We're going to talk about what the item is, why I think it sold that quickly, is it a fluke or do we have a bona fide bolo on our hands? Really just kind of give you full visibility into the things that I had that worked out really well for me. Doing this is something that I do at the end of the year just to kind of like look back and dial my practices. So I figured I'd share it with you guys and hopefully it helps all of us source a little bit better in 2026. But before we get started here, guys, if this is your first time here, if this is your first time stumbling on my channel, first and foremost, welcome. I am Julia. That is my name. We talk all things thrifting and vintage and the business of reselling on the internet here. If that sounds like something that you might be into, consider hitting subscribe down below. I would love to have you along on this journey. But without further ado, guys, we have a lot of stuff to get through. So go get comfy, grab yourself a notebook, grab yourself a snack, grab yourself a drink. You know I've got my matcha latte. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. Before we get into this absolute beast of a video, I want to take a quick minute to thank Vendu for sponsoring this video. It is the beginning of 2026, and if one of your resolutions is to increase your sales in your reselling business this year, I can tell you with 100% certainty that the number one easiest way to do that is to cross-list. Vendu serves as your single source of inventory management and effortlessly feeds all of your listings out to whichever marketplaces you want them listed on. And they have every marketplace that you are looking for. They've got Poshmark, eBay, Depop, Mercari, Vinted, Vestiaire, Grailed, Shopify, Etsy. With just a few additional clicks after you write your listing, you can send your items to as many or as few of those marketplaces as you want. They also have tools to take a lot of the busy work off of our plate, the things that can just suck up hours of our day. They have automatic offers to likers, so when somebody likes one of your items, they'll automatically trigger an offer to go to them within a reasonable amount of time while they're still shopping. They have an auto delist feature, so when an item sells on one marketplace, it automatically detects that sale and delists that item from every other marketplace you have it listed with. There's even automated marketplace sharing and bumping and refreshing. Again, all just busy work that absorbs your time. And while we're working on our fresh starts in January, it is the perfect time to start cross-listing. And doubly so now because today through the end of January 2026, Vendu is offering 40% off of your first month with code PROFIT26AM. So it is time to supercharge your reselling business. Because remember, when your items are just sitting and not being sold, your money is stuck. So I can tell you personally, because I'm a data nerd like that if I was only selling on Poshmark and not cross-listing to other platforms, over the last 2 years, I would be out over 50% of my sales. So this is truly the only resolution that will pay you back. So guys, if you are interested in giving Vendu a try, click the link in the description box down below. Don't forget Profit26AM to get 40% off of your first month. That is only good through January 31st of 2026. And let's start this year off on a profitable note. Thanks again to Vendu for sponsoring this video and their continued partnership. I use Vendu every single day of my life. And I promise that once you start cross-listing, you will wonder why you haven't started sooner. Now, let's get into all of my one-day sales from 2025. Okay, so I'm going to break this all down by marketplace. And just in case some of you guys are here for the first time, I'm not somebody who prices aggressively to move. I really tend to price like mid-market. So there's no kind of gaming the system when it comes to these items. These are all items that are either super high demand or just a total fluke. So we're going to start here with Depop. All right, the first item we have here is this super cool asymmetrical pinstripe skirt. This is so like right up my alley personally, and one of those things that I was like so upset that it didn't fit me. This had a lot about it that I thought was super saleable, but what it did not have was a label. Any label at all. There was no brand label, there were no contents tags, so I really had to lean on keywords for this one. And I think that the keywords did a nice job of getting this in front of the right eyeballs. This is very like modern and minimalist and has a lot of that kind of almost like Japanese minimalism feeling to it. So I think that that's really why this ended up going quickly. Am I surprised that it sold fast? No. Am I surprised that it sold as quick as it did for the price that it did? A little bit. But I don't think that something like this would would ever be something that sits around for that long as it's keyworded correctly. So this was a great one. You'll notice in there that I have the term Japanese mode fashion. This is actually a fashion subculture in Japan that has a lot of asymmetric, mildly androgynous, menswear inspired feel to it. So when you have a piece like this, make sure you're using that keyword. It's a good one. All right, next up we have this Aritzia full zip cable knit sweater. This one I thought was kind of an unusual one to go as fast as it did. It's super cute. It was wool blend, and it's from their in-house line Sunday Best, which is, to be totally honest, a line that sells kind of fast. It's never sold this quick for me. I think the big thing for this is that it is currently in line. And it was one of those things that as soon as I listed it, I had immediate interest in it. So it popped off super, super quickly. I think with Aritzia in particular, the things that are moving the fastest here are the things that are in line in stores right now. And then like the basics that they're known for. Like I think it's called like their sculpt knit and like their effortless line. But for the rest of Aritzia, generally it's like, usually gone within a month or so and in like the higher end of the bread and butter price territory. I think this one was an outlier just because it is in line right now and it's a great like closet staple. Next up, we have this absolutely amazing 1980s vintage ski suit. Now, this is the kind of thing that I will pick up any time I see it. I have picked up so many of these and they have always sold super duper quickly. Now, this is from Head. Head isn't a particularly high-end ski brand, but the look of it, the colors of it, the geometric vibes of it is something that is really hard to find. There are little pockets in this country, in ski towns, where stuff like this is a very hot commodity. People like to wear them for like party days on the mountain. So if you ever find something like this that looks so like over the top 80s ski, you want to make sure you're using Gaper Day. That's Gaper Day. That's a big party day in a lot of different ski resorts. You want to use pond skimming, opening day, closing day. I know in Park City, we had something called Clown Day. These are the days that these kind of things would get dusted off and brought out and worn to the mountains. So keep your eyes out for them for sure. They sell for a great price. You can see this one sold for $98 same day, but make sure you're using keywords that are going to get them in front of the right people. This one didn't surprise me at all. If this didn't sell in one day, it would have sold in 2 days. And that's been my experience across the board in these vintage ski pieces, particularly the vintage ski like one-piece suits. Jackets are the second most in demand, pants a distant third. They're usually not as crazy as the jackets or the one-pieces. Next up, we've got this great Polo Ralph Lauren quarter zip cotton sweater. This is a classic. This is one of those things that is so expensive new. I always forget how expensive Polo is until I see it in like a Nordstrom and it's, something like this is $200. But there's a lot of it out there, so it doesn't resell for like a huge percentage unless you're dealing with like vintage pieces or more in-demand pieces. And there's a lot of nuance to that. But I know that anytime I find a piece like this, it's going to fly fast. So this is a reliable fast seller, something I'm very comfortable paying up for. In fact, I think I bought this full price at a thrift store. I don't get my hands on a ton of it in the bins, but when I do see it in the thrift store, especially if it's a more significant piece like this, I'm always going to pick it up because it's going to start at about this price, at about that like $30 to $40 and up if it's a more in-demand vintage piece. Also, I think that the advent of like the quarter zip trend this year really helped this along. So make sure if you're not chronically online and aware of the whole quarter zip and matcha thing, that you use the term quarter zip on any men's like non-athletic quarter zip that you have. Next up, we've got this beautiful piece from Bonnie Strauss. Now, I have found a few pieces from Bonnie Strauss, and I have had similar experiences with every single piece I've ever found. The first time I ever found a Bonnie Strauss piece, the reason I picked it up is because this is what the tag looked like, and it was just so unusual that I grabbed it. It was very like 1990s mom sipping a Chablis, listening to Delilah, wearing Revlon rum raisin lipstick, right? Like that's the vibe I get from this era of Bonnie Strauss. And newer Bonnie Strauss is also super desirable. I've just never gotten my hands on it. I've only found vintage pieces, but they sell fast. This one had a few little like age specs on it. You can see one right above the tag here. Disclosed all of that, still sold super duper quickly. Pick up anything you see with this label. Obviously check condition if it's torn, like that's a different story. But even with flaws, this sold so fast. And I would anticipate anything else from Bonnie Strauss selling just as quickly. Oh, So next up here, we've got this cute little piece from Free People. This is called the Nadia's sweater. And the reason I picked this up initially was because of this fringe. This fringe was like really, really thick. If you don't know this about me, or if you're new here, I am a real sucker for like a good quality embellishment moment. And this fringe absolutely positively jumped out at me. It was a knotted mess when I pulled it out of the bins, and I found this in the bins, but 5 minutes with a steamer got it looking great. And this sold immediately. Now, I didn't anticipate to get quite as high a price on this as I ended up doing, but more substantial knits and stuff like this from Free People, I'm always going to pick up, especially if I see it at the bins, because it's always going to be at least a solid sale. And when I got it home and started to really dig into the actual model of it, I was pleasantly surprised to see the sold comps. Sold comps on this one in particular were between like $50 and $100, and I sold this like square in the middle so quickly. You know, with Free People as resellers, we have to be aware of the fact that a lot of Free People is saturated, and it tends to be very like diametrically opposed. You're either going to find something that's going to sell in like the lower end of bread and butter, or you're going to find something that's going to sell for like $75. And being able to vet the items and figure out which ones are going to go for which price is super important, especially if you're in a place where you don't have access to like really low cost inventory. If you don't have a bins location, or you don't have like great church fill a bag sales or anything like that, you know, make sure you're learning how to do a Google image search. Free People in particular, just because it's such a popular brand, it's usually pretty easy to do a quick Google image search. You can just hang the little hanger up on the thing, snap a picture of it. Usually you'll figure out what the actual model name is super quickly. So you should be able to comp that with very little resistance while you're in store. But this was not a fluke. This was a very in-demand sweater that I just lucked out and found. So keep your eyes out for one like this. And like I said, take a little time if you don't know how to do it, to do a Google image search. It's either something that sits and you get the low end of bread and butter, or it's something that sells super quickly for an incredible price. And it is important for us to be able to tell the difference. Next up. Okay, this is kind of like a costume piece. There are costumes that you buy at like Spirit of Halloween, whatever, always polyester, always made for like a one-time wear. There are theatrical costumes, which are up to historically accurate. And then in the middle, you have these cosplay items. This is like a cosplay item. This would be purchased by somebody who likes to go to like Ren fairs, or somebody who likes to LARP on the weekends, or somebody who is into cosplaying as a hobby. So it's not super cheap, made for one wear like costume stuff, and it's not handmade for like extremely hard wear like a theatrical piece. This is made like a normal piece of clothing where it's made to withstand, you know, whatever it is, 30 washes. I will pick these kind of pieces up anytime I see them. There is it's small, but it is a very dedicated buyer pool for stuff like this. This had no brand in it. This was just like a cotton textured tunic for men. But there are brands that are known for items like this. Scarlet Darkness immediately comes to mind. I've sold quite a few Scarlet Darkness pieces really within a few days, but you want to make sure you get your keywords kind of dialed with this. You want to make sure you've got Ren Fair and Renaissance Fair, because people will search for both of those. Cosplay, and of course any other kind of like costumes that this might be able to be worn with. For example, I had like poet shirt, pirate shirt, LARP. If you don't know what LARP is, that's live action role playing, and it's a really big niche hobby that exists, and people are constantly looking for stuff like this. So this was not a fluke. I have sold many of these pieces very quickly. I will pick them up anytime I see them. I will even happily pay up for them in the thrift store, because I know that they're going to be such quick, pretty solid sales. Again, these are not the things that you're going to get $100 for. I mean, like maybe a theatrical costume, you might be in that range, but for something like this, you're going to get in that, you know, bread and butter to upper range of bread and butter, and probably you'll get that very quickly, as long as you keyword it right. Also, guys, just pay no attention to the fact that I have no thumbnail. It's been a day. I didn't get a chance to fix it last night. I will be doing them tonight. Next up, Travis Mathew. I have gone back and forth on Travis Mathew. I have heard all of your opinions on Travis Mathew. Some of you still really love it. Some of you won't touch it at all. I will still pick this up, but only at the bins. This one sold really quickly for full price at $32. But in general, I will see between like $20 and $30 on these shirts. And so long as they're bigger than a size small or extra small, they generally sell for me like within a week. And of course, I'll pick up more substantial pieces. I just don't see a ton of them. I do see a ton of these polo shirts though. Like, this is an expensive brand. People know it. People will pick them up. The only downside for me is that I tend to see a lot of these in size small and extra small, and they tend to sit a little bit longer, but they do still end up selling pretty dang quick. But for me, I will continue to pick these up at the bins. Okay, so next up, this is one that was mine. I bought this purse. I used it like 3 times. It was just a little too small for what I needed it for. I am of the era of girls that used a Madewell transport tote as my regular purse. So going down to something this small is like not easy for me. I like to have my stuff with me. So I used it a few times and I listed it. This is from Quince. It's one of their Italian leather crossbody bags. This is pretty clearly a dupe of Claire V or Claire Vivier, her woven bags. And it's a great little purse. And if memory serves me right, this went to one of you guys who bought it from me, not knowing that you were buying it from me. But either way, these retail for like $100. It was, like I said, used maybe twice. So you out there who bought this, I hope you're loving it and I hope it fits all of your stuff better than it fit all of my junk. Listen, guys, I need my hand sani, okay? Like I need to have my hand sani with me, and that was the thing that put it over the edge. But if you see any kind of Quince leather bags, obviously check for condition. These are a slam dunk. They sold super quickly. I know that some of these pieces, and I will try to note it when it does happen, I know that some of these pieces were bought by viewers who had seen these pieces in one of my hauls, but this one was, like I said, bought by somebody who did not know that you were buying it from me. It was just something that was quickly snapped up. And as you can see, it had some interest on it immediately when I listed it. So the Quince leather stuff is a slam dunk. All right, next up, we've got this cute skirt. Now this is something that I picked up because it was like weird and gorgeous. It had some condition issues. It was missing a closure here on the waist, but I just knew it was so cool and so funky that somebody with a little bit of sewing chops was going to pick it up. I think that this one was kind of a fluke. I think either somebody saw it on my haul and wanted it, or it just kind of hit at the right time, at the right place. I did my best keywording it, and I knew somebody would grab it eventually. Kind of surprised that it sold as quick as it did, but, I'll take it. A win's a win. Oh, okay, so next up. This is from Saga. Saga's a boutique that does a lot of Log and Look-esque modern-esque linen pieces. And I feel like I go through patches where I find a bunch of Saga and then I go through a drought where I don't see it for months and months. It is a brand that I will always pick up. It's not always going to be a good sale, but they do tend to be really quick sales. This one in particular, if memory serves me right, I found in a little cache of like 4 or 5 Saga pieces. And within 1 week, all but one of the pieces were sold. So Saga is always a slam dunk for me. Definitely bread and butter territory. I don't do anywhere near as well with like the knit pieces. They do also have like jersey pieces and stuff like that. The linen performs much, much better for me. But if it's got like a Log and Look silhouette, or if it's linen, if you find Saga, pick it up, comfortably pay up for it. Again, it's not always going to be a huge sale. It will almost always be a pretty quick sale. Next up, this is something that I'm never going to leave behind. Anytime I find like a chunky fisherman knit wool sweater, I'm going to grab it. Doesn't necessarily matter what the brand is. This one was from Charles Austin, never heard of it. It was, if memory serves me right, it was a pretty small size large, but you put the measurements up there, it was in great condition, sold super duper quickly for a great price. All wool vintage sweaters, especially when you have something with a really classic style like this fisherman, you can always tell a fisherman sweater by the kind of chunkier collar, this like shaker style knit here. Slam dunk, pick it up every time, pay up for it comfortably. There's just forever a market for it. And if this didn't sell in 1 day, this probably would have sold within a week, right? Like this is the kind of thing that I expect to go super quickly. Next up. This was a little piece that I got from a little thrift store. I think I paid $3 or $4 for it. These vintage silk pieces, this is so like Y2K. This is the kind of stuff that I wore like around college time. These things sell so fast. I've sold probably 20 pieces similar to this, and they've all sold within a week, somewhere between like 30 and 45, depending on the brand. There are some that go up a little bit higher, but the things that I really always want to see are a contrast lace trim and of course silk, not satin. Now vintage satin will still sell. It'll sell at a lower price. It'll still sell quickly though, but the silk pieces are the ones that people really, really want. Not at all surprised that this sold as fast as it did, especially in this color brown. Like brown is so hot right now. Next up, this is a piece that I picked up from Kimchi Blue. Now, Kimchi Blue is a brand that I generally don't touch at all. This was 100% a style pickup. I would never pick up something like this in the regular thrift store. You know, you're just not going to get a huge amount of money for anything like this. This was probably $28 new, right? So if you go by the old formula of like generally in resale, the max you're going to get is no more than 50% of retail. At that point, paying any more than $2 or $3 for this, you're probably not going to get the profit that you want unless your business model is that you do like high volume, low margin stuff. Kimchi blue is just not something that I picked up, but the style was so cute and I gave it a try and it sold lickety split. Did I expect it to sell quite this quick? I did not. So I think it might have been a little bit of a fluke of the right thing hitting at the right time, but I do think that that would have sold super quickly. Again, something that you make sure that you keyword appropriately and get the right eyeballs in front of it. But I thought that this would sell super quickly. I think it was a fluke that it went in one day, but something I'm really only going to touch at super, super low COGS. Next up. This is one that I knew would go quick, and I never anticipate vintage pieces selling fast just because it's a limited buyer pool that really wants it, but this in particular was just so cool, and I've had the experience of selling vintage pieces that are handmade from old tablecloths, and forever they sell fast for me. In fact, I don't think I've ever had one that sat around for even up to a week. Like usually these things sell super quickly. You want to make sure that if you have something like this that looks like it's made from an old tablecloth, you want to make sure that you're using the word tablecloth in your listing because people look for stuff like this. But this was just so cool. This is from 1940s for sure. And it definitely had some age spotting up here at the top. But again, I knew that this was going to go quick. It was teeny, 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 tiny, and it sold immediately. If memory serves me right, this thing sold before I even finished listing it across all my different marketplaces. So these are a forever pickup, something you should feel very comfortable paying up for, even with flaws, even with stains, because these things are rare and people love them. I tend to think that there are like collectors of tablecloth items, unconfirmed, but that's just kind of my gut feeling with the experience I've had with any piece like this. Next up, this is a piece that my mom found. Colored gloves, always, always, always a pickup. Vintage gloves in general tend to sell very, very well for me, and I think they sell well for a lot of you guys. But the gloves that sell the best are the ones in funky colors with funky embellishment, and these gloves fit the bill. Again, for the most part, unless you get something really, really extraordinary, you're not going to be seeing a ton of money on them, but they're easy and small to store. They tend to have very few people looking for them in the thrift stores, so I always say, like, just do a quick glance through and see if you see anything funky because they sell quickly. I am not at all surprised that these sold as quick as they did. Pay a little attention to the gloves. They're one of my favorite little like sleeper hits in the thrift. Next up, this is a little piece from Evereve. Evereve is one of those brands that just sells so fast for me all the time. They sell their own line stuff. This is an Evereve branded piece, as you can see, but they also sell other high-end casual wear lines, and I think it's a brand that people know and love. I've had the same experience with multiple pieces from Evereve, so it's a label I always keep my eyes out for. Do I ever expect for them to sell in one day? Definitely no. But usually I see these things pop off within a week or two, so this is not really a fluke per se. I think it was a little bit of timing, but I would have expected this to sell pretty quickly regardless. Next up was this cute little dress from Laundry by Shelley Segal. This was an adorable little party dress, but this is not something that I would have expected to sell as quick as it did. It was an average size, which is always great, but I think that this one was a matter of hitting the right eyeballs at the right time. It sold so quickly. Laundry stuff usually for me sells within a couple of months, and that's generally what I expect. Like I said, I think that this one was a bit of a fluke, but it is so cute and an adorable little party dress regardless. Next up, we have this little Show Me Your Muumuu bridesmaid's dress. Now, I don't mess around too much with bridesmaids dresses. I see a ton. There are a few brands, though, that I will pick up. Jenny U being one of them, Show Me Your Muumuu being another one. These are just really like trendy bridesmaids dresses, and they tend to retail about $200. And I've sold quite a few Show Me Your Muumuu dresses in this kind of like $40 to $50 range. I'm not going to anticipate too much more. I've sold some up a little bit higher. This one, though, I do think was a little bit of a fluke. Show Me Your Muumuu bridesmaids dresses usually go within a few months, but I think that this was a matter of me getting this listed at the right time for somebody looking for this specific color bridesmaids dress. So this one I think was a little bit of a fluke, but I will still pick these guys up only from select brands. And in general, I will only pick these guys up at the bins. I don't know what it is because I do tend to get a pretty decent price for it, but I will only pick these things up at the bins. And finally, the last one-day sale over on Depop was this absolutely adorable sourpuss clothing gingham dress. These retro style dresses are an always, always, always pick up. Now, did I expect for this one to sell quite this quick? No, I never expect anything to sell in one day, but I absolutely expected this to sell within a week. Sourpuss is based really close to Philadelphia, so I am very aware of the brand. I actually had a friend who was a designer for them. So when I saw it out here, I was super excited to see it. I don't think that they're around anymore, unfortunately, which is only going to serve to increase demand for the pieces. But anything with this kind of like retro rockabilly look to it, you should absolutely be picking up. You want to keep your eyes out for ModCloth pieces, unique vintage, collective for sure. Also another brand that no longer exists that has kind of a collector's market to it. But this was not a fluke. I knew that this was going to go super quickly. This is like so on the nose with the cherries and the blue gingham and the red hits, like that retro rockabilly style. So I knew that this was going to go super quickly. But yeah, pick these up anytime you see them. 100% not a fluke on this one. And that is it for Depop. All right, let's dive into the eBay one-day sales. And first up here is this cute little Breton stripe top from Talbots. This one felt kind of unusual to me in that I generally don't sell Talbots that quickly. I think the thing that helped this was the fact that it was a very classic cut, very classic pattern. This looks like a St. James shirt, which would retail at like $150. So while I think that it was kind of a fluke that this one sold as quick as it did, I think in terms of Talbot's pieces, this would have sold faster than most just based on what it is. Next up, we've got this funky little tie-dye dress from Natural Life. Now, Natural Life is generally a brand that I get very fast sales on. Not necessarily huge sales, but generally the pieces go pretty quickly. This piece in particular, though, kind of took me by surprise because typically the Natural Life pieces that I sell quickly are floral. That's kind of what they're known for, this very like boho, floral, flowy vibe. And this felt like a little bit of a departure. Super surprised that this sold as fast as it did. I think that this one in particular was a fluke. That being said, I would keep my eyes out for Natural Life pieces. I would even pay up for them up to a certain amount. I certainly wouldn't pay like a jacked up price, but in general, I see my Natural Life pieces, the floral ones, go within a couple weeks for, somewhere in the high end of bread and butter, $30 to $40. But this one, like I said, pretty sure it was a fluke. Next up, this is a Lululemon pair of pants. Now, in terms of the leggings, unless I'm seeing like the basic black full-length leggings, think like the Wonder Train, the Align. In general, I'm seeing them take forever to sell, and they've significantly dropped in price on the resale market. These kind of pants, on the other hand, tend to go a little bit quicker. That being said, when I say that they tend to go a little bit quicker, I typically see them sell in about a month or so. These, I think, were a bit of a fluke. I don't know much about this particular pant, but generally, I would not expect these pants to move as fast as they did. So for sure, something I will still pick up. I think the buyer paid about $40 for them, so I'm still getting a decent price on them, but I do think that this was a fluke that they went as fast as they did. I think it was just one of those right eyeballs at the right time kind of moments. Next up, this is a cute little pair of sunglasses. Now, these were a pair of sunglasses that were mine. This company, Vela, had a buy one, get one free sunglass sale, so I bought two, figuring I would keep the one that I like better, and that's exactly what I did. I have the same pair of sunglasses with a different color lens. So I listed these, and these sold so fast for basically retail price. They are from Australia, and frankly, I think that they're super cute. I'm not surprised that they sold as fast as they did, but that could also be me complimenting my own ridiculous taste, so. Love them, but keep your eyes out for this brand. I don't know how much you're going to see this while you're outsourcing, but if you see them, grab them. Next up, we've got this great pair of Bluefish wide leg hand-painted pants. This is in no way, shape, or form a fluke. Bluefish stuff will always sell super quickly. I found two pieces this day. This one sold in one day. The other piece sold in 3. So Not a fluke. Keep your eyes out for them. A bolo, 100%. I think that these sold for $80, and I think that the top that I found sold for like $115. And I would expect the exact same result, if not a little bit more, from the next one. Bluefish is no longer in business. There's a hot collector's market for it. It's niche, it's small, but it is 100% high intent. So comfortably pay up for bluefish pieces. They're the kind of pieces, if you don't know what you're looking at, you might pass thinking that somebody did like an art project, because this is literally paint. Like, this is hand painted with whatever kind of paint on the clothing. So make sure you keep your eyes out for stuff like that. There's a million different tags for it, but Bluefish, don't forget that name. Pick them up anytime you see them and comfortably pay up for them. Next up are these cute little shorts from Vitamin A. Vitamin A is a high-end swimwear brand. These were 100% linen. Did I anticipate them selling as fast as they did? No, but being that it was yellow and gingham, yellow being a very popular color, gingham being a very popular print last summer, in addition to them being a high-end brand, I had no doubt that these would sell quick. I think it was a fluke that they sold as fast as they did, but I would pick up Vitamin A linen anytime I see it. Something like this isn't always going to be a really big sale, but definitely going to be a fairly quick sale. I think the other pieces that I've had from Vitamin A have all sold inside of a month, so definitely a pretty safe bet if you're looking for those like high velocity sales. Cozy Earth. These were a pair of joggers from Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth in general is absolutely a bolo. You should pick up those pieces anytime you see them. Doubly so when you find them in plus size, and these were a size 3XL. Now, I think that the jogger pant thing is definitely on the decline. Trends have been leaning more into like the wide leg pants like this. So just make sure you're keeping your eye on sold comps if you find joggers, especially if they're jacked up in price. So just keep your finger on the pulse there. We're always watching trends come in and go out, and joggers were red hot for a very long time. So we want to make sure that if we're paying up for something, that it is still a silhouette that people really, really are looking for. But Cozy Earth, for sure a brand you should be picking the pieces up for without hesitation. Definitely a good brand that people are on the hunt for. Very expensive retail. Next up was this cute little orange gauze dress by Anthropologie. By Anthropologie, of the Anthropologie brands, does tend to sell pretty quick for me in the grand scheme of all of the Anthro in-house brands. This one I was surprised at how fast it sold because it's double gauze, and double gauze dresses from Anthropologie and Free People have been red hot for me for the last couple years. I've maybe had one or two that have sold in one day. So I knew that this one was going to be a pretty quick sale. I did not anticipate it being a one-day sale. So I think it was a little bit of a fluke that it went in one day. But again, I do think that this would have been a piece that would have sold fairly quickly, probably within a month. That's what I would have anticipated. But yeah, I think a bit of a fluke that it sold as quickly as it did. So cute though. Next up, this was a piece that I picked up just because the linen felt really great. I could not read that label, but I loved the silhouette of it, and the linen felt really high-end. The designer on this is Manuel Guibal. I don't know if I'm saying that right. All apologies to all parties involved for my butchering. But once I finally got it home and I figured out the brand, I saw the sold comp prices and I was pleasantly surprised. This is a brand that I think will sell this, maybe not one day, but I think you'll see pieces from here sell very, very well, very fast, and they will often go overseas. This one in particular went to Paris. This is a Parisian designer, and it went back to its home. So for sure, a brand that will sell fast, has a devoted market for it, and will sell for a great price. This is definitely a bolo. And I have never seen another one after I saw this one. If you've ever found a piece from them, let me know down below and let me know where you are. I want to know where these pieces are landing in this country. Next up, we have this whipped robe from Negative Underwear, and I'm saying this right now, 100%, not a fluke. I have sold 3 of these at this point, and they have all sold in 1 or 2 days each. One of them I think I sold within hours. This is a super ultra soft fabric. They call it a mini robe, so it's just kind of like an open front cardigan. 100%, anything from Negative Underwear is going to sell well. They have the whip line, and then they have a mesh line. I forget what it's called, but both lines are very expensive. You get them at like Nordstrom and higher end department stores like that. You can also, of course, buy it from their website. But everything I have ever found from this brand has sold within a day or 2. Not a fluke, slam dunk, 100% bolo. Next up, this is another one, slam dunk, 100% bolo. This is Buck Mason. Probably needs no introduction to any of you guys. Everything I have ever found from Buck Mason has sold within like 2 or 3 days. And most of them have sold within 1 day. You don't even need to ask questions here. If you see it, buy it, comfortably pay up for it. It's an expensive brand. They make stuff beautifully. Buck Mason and Taylor Stitch, for me, are two great men's bolos that have very similar looking tags. So don't miss either of those brands. Any of the pieces, even the t-shirts, sell super quickly. So like Bolo, 100%. Buy first, ask questions later. Next up, I actually picked up 2 pairs of shoes on this same day, and they both sold in one day. So the first piece I had here was this Altra pair of running shoes. Altra is really famous for having like a wide toe box. So if you're somebody who has like a wider foot, or maybe you're dealing with a foot issue where like anything that kind of tips your toes in hurts, Altras are going to be your friend. They're made for people like you. This is definitely not like a Nike purchase. Nobody's buying this for like casual wear. These are like runner shoes that you get at like a specialty running store. And they are quite expensive retail. I want to say they retail between $150 and $200. And these were like basically brand new. There was like a little bit of wear here on the paint, but like overall there was almost no wear on these shoes. And they sold in a day for about $60. So for sure, keep your eyes out for them. I would recommend, especially if you're in a place that does a lot of sneakers, either like look on the website of a high-end running store and like get to know the logos, because something like this, if you didn't know what Altra was, you would have gone right past that thinking that this was like a no-name brand, and you do not want to be leaving these kind of shoes behind because they sell fast and for a great price. And then the other shoes I picked up that same day were these from Arcopetico. And Arcopetico is a comfort shoe brand. I did not know the brand at all, but there was a lot about it that told me that it was a comfort shoe brand. I looked at the insole. It was all leather. It was really well made. Any kind of like comfort shoes, especially if you can find comfort shoes that are made in like Germany, anything like that, is generally going to be a really good buy. These kind of shoes tend to have cult followings. Like the people who fit Arcopetico are going to stick with Arcopetico shoes. Keep your eyes out for comfort shoes in general. And if you do a lot of shoes, spend a little time going down the wormhole on comfort shoe brands so you can easily identify them. Bolo for sure. I want to say I got $60 for these as well. Both shoes that I picked up sold super quickly that week. And I do not do shoes all that often. I just don't have the room to store them. But when I see stuff like this, I'm grabbing them. Next up, this is a shirt from Dosa. This is 100% a bolo. Not surprised it sold as quick as it did. Any other piece I've ever had from Dosa has sold so quickly. This is super high end, kind of in like the log and look minimalist style. This is like a lightweight cotton lawn, tunic length with this beautiful ruffle down the front. This is one of their like signature style shirts. This sold for $150. And I talked about this in the first of my lesser known bolo brand videos. I'll link this down below if you want to go a little bit deeper in it. The label is super tiny and super unassuming, but absolutely positively buy with confidence, pay up for it comfortably, although I don't think that these will be jacked up at all. Slam dunk buy. Bolo for sure. Also, more of those lesser known bolo videos to come. My list is getting very long, so keep your eyes out for that in the next couple months. This is an important one. This is a beautiful piece from Patrick Kelly. Now, Patrick Kelly, designer in the 80s, he is no longer with us. It is kind of imperative, if you ever see this label, to pick it up for the preservation of these pieces. He is highly sought after. I sold this dress for $400 in one day. Patrick Kelly is a 100% dive across the bins. Don't shove people out of the way if you see it in the thrift, because most people will pass this, but like, moral imperative to pick these pieces up. Comfortably pay up for them. Number one, you're going to get a ton of money for them, but number two, you're going to be preserving. And if you're into fashion at all, go and do a deep dive on Patrick Kelly. He's a fascinating guy, and he broke a lot of barriers in the fashion world. So a little wormhole to keep you away from doom scrolling later. You see Patrick Kelly, you buy it, that's an order. Next up, this was kind of a weird one. This is a double weave Champion sweatshirt. They're kind of a dime a dozen, but bang for your buck, you don't get better than this. Now, I think the reason that this sold so quickly was because this is a color that they don't make anymore. I had another one that was black that I sold. That took a couple months to move. So I think that this was kind of a fluke, but definitely the less common colors of these double weave sweatshirts are gonna sell quicker. But like I said, I think that this was a fluke that it went as quick as it did, but I do think that the color helped it move as quick as it did, but it's not something I would ever pay up for or expect to be a one-day sale. Next up, another double gauze piece from Free People that sold in a day. This was a long maxi skirt. I'm going to pick up a double gauze maxi skirt from Free People no matter what. And I always anticipate Free People pieces to be in that kind of like upper bread and butter territory. And this was one that I was pleasantly surprised at the sold comps. I think that this ended up selling for like $40 again in one day. And once I got it home and did my research, I'm not surprised it sold as fast as it did. But like I said, for right now, especially in the summer, those double gauze pieces from Free People and Anthropologie are definitely in demand. So grab them, comfortably pay up for them. But if you're seeing jacked up prices, do a quick sold comp just to make sure that your margins are there. Next up, this is a linen duvet set that I found at the bins. Guys, I know a lot of people don't touch bedding, and I 100% get that. But if you are so inclined, if you see a large piece of linen poking out of a bin, please take a look at it. Go at least and look at the brand. You know, if you're finding something from Cultivar, Boll and Branch, Parachute, Brooklinen, any of these brands are super in demand. I literally just found a Parachute linen king size duvet cover that retails for $360. I will probably see about $150 on this. This set in particular sold for $200. It was the sheet set with the pillowcases, and if I had the duvet with it, this probably would have gone for more like $300. So I understand why some people don't want to do bedding. I 100% get it, but like, even if you just look for linen, that's an easy like entry point on reselling linens. And every piece that I've ever had has sold super, super quickly. So I'm not surprised that this sold as quick as it did. I did find another, I think it actually was a duvet from Cultivar, and that I think sold in like 3 days. And I've never had one from any brand. And I only pick up really nice brands and stuff like this. I've never had one that took more than like 2 weeks to sell. So Bolo for sure. I urge you all to dip your toe in that pool because there is cash money in that pool. Next up, this was a brand I didn't know until I picked it up, and I want you to go and look it up. It's called Outlier NYC. I picked this up because I thought it was linen. Turns out it's actually ramie. I still don't know how to say that fabric, but it feels very similar to linen. It has a very similar hand to it. This is a super high-end brand out of New York City. This was kind of an unusual color, and it was something that I picked up. I didn't comp it in store just because it felt so nice, and it was like a linen shirt, so that's always going to be a buy for me. And when I got home and started doing research, I was pleasantly surprised. And when I saw all the sold comps, they were all kind of in that same range. You know, they were selling for like $70-$80, and a lot of them, you know, sold super duper quickly. So this is for sure a Bolo brand. Pick it up, buy it first, don't ask questions. You'll get your money back and then some on this one. Next up, this was an interesting one. This is from Blauer, and Blauer makes like tactical uniform pieces. I think they make a lot of like police uniforms and stuff like that. This had no emblems on it. Obviously, I would never sell like a badged piece, like something that had a police logo on it. I'm sure that there is some kind of like proper disposal method for stuff like that, but I'm sure some of those pieces find their way into the thrift stores, but I would never resell that. That just doesn't feel right. But something like this, I was pleasantly surprised. Now, I don't know if this is a Bolo. This is the only piece I've ever found. This is really not the kind of stuff that I like to deal with. But please chime in if this is the kind of stuff that you see a lot, you buy a lot, and you sell a lot. Does it sell this quick? This is basically brand new without tags. This had like no wear on it whatsoever. And it sold super quickly. Didn't sell for a ton, but I'm going to guess that there are a lot of people that have to like pay for their own uniforms. So maybe the guy who bought this and brought it into whoever he worked for badging. But like, let me know, put it down in the comments if you know more about Blauer, because I really can't make a call on this one. Next up, I've got this gorgeous little hemp piece from Eileen Fisher. Now, this one went to one of you guys, so I absolutely cannot call it a fluke or not. This sold so quickly because one of you guys saw it. So we'll skip right past this, but I don't think that this would have taken too long to sell. It's a more significant Eileen Fisher piece, and they usually go pretty quickly for me, more usually like within a month or two. I rarely sell pieces like this in one day. I believe this was also in the same order. This is the Athleta Cabo pants. Excellent quality linen pants. Usually something that I don't see sell within a day, usually things that go in kind of specific times of the year. So I wouldn't call this like an automatic buy, just make sure you're doing your comps. But again, this one went to one of you guys, So this is a brand I've never heard of before, but the important thing about this is that it is a silk blend robe. And brightly colored silk robes will sell no matter what. I've sold a ton of silk robes. They always sell quickly. Doesn't matter the brand. I will pick these up anytime I see them. Typically, silk robes sell within a week. So this does not surprise me at all that it sold as quick as it did. Just as an aside, guys, I was in a Savers yesterday, and in their pajama section, they were asking like $19.99 for a pair of polyester pajama pants. I'm sorry, what? Sorry, quick aside, but this is a bolo. Pick these things up anytime you see them. Next up, this is a little Meomeli dress. Now, Meomeli is kind of like a boutique level linen brand. I see a lot of pieces from them. They're kind of in the same range as Saga that I talked about before. But the thing that sold this was the fact that it had that login look silhouette. And anything like this with that kind of cocoon shaped skirt, always going to sell fast. So absolutely not surprised that this sold as fast as it did. It's not always going to be a huge sale, but 100% something to pick up when you see it. Just keep your eyes out for those silhouettes. Learn the login look silhouettes. It's worth lots of money to you. Next up, another slam dunk Pendleton board shirt. I've sold tons of these. These always sell within a week. This one especially, you want to keep your eyes out. There's a loop collar. There's like a little button loop on the collar. You want to make sure that you note that because they're more in demand. Again, buy first, ask questions later. This will always sell. I think this sold for like $60 in a day. Doesn't matter the size. These will sell bolo for sure. Oh, this is a little Y2K vintage BB shirt. Y2K in silk is just always going to be a bolo. Anything that I've ever bought that is Y2K and silk has sold usually within a few days. This is absolutely positively no different. And I'll tell you, I had a ton of interest in this in the one day that I had this listed. I want to say that I had like 15 offers out on it on Depop and it ended up selling on eBay. So Y2K plus silk, check. That's a bolo. Next up, this is Vuori. We don't even need to go into details. Vuori, at least for right now, still red hot, always a buy. Hasn't really been jacked up too much yet by thrift stores, so you can usually find these at like the standard pricing. If it's Vuori, pick it up. That's just check condition for sure, but they're a bolo brand for sure. They sell fast for a great price every time. Once again, we've got a Y2K vintage piece. That's silk. It's got that like bias cut, midi length, fit and flare silhouette. This one was all beaded. Again, Y2K in silk. It's a bolo. I want to say that this sold for like $60. This had everything going for it and it sold super quickly. Most dresses that I have like this sell incredibly fast. I will pick them up anytime I see them and I recommend you do the same. Next up, vintage sweater. This one in particular, though, is from Michael Simon. This is a bolo brand, 1000%. Heavy duty collector's market. People are looking for the unique pieces. This one wasn't even labeled. I really had to go deep in the Google image searches to figure out who made this. But if you see a Michael Simon label, you pick it up, comfortably pay thrift store prices. I don't think you're going to see any thrift stores jacking up the prices of a Michael Simon sweater. They go well into the hundreds of dollars. One of you guys mentioned that you had found like a 1996 Disney collaboration that they did. And when I did a search for it to see what it looked like, because of course I had to, the most recent one had sold for $900. So a bolo, a big bolo. Do not miss out on Michael Simon sweaters. Look at that cutie. Isn't she adorable? Next up, another silk piece. Silk nightgowns, guys, 100% a bolo. Doesn't matter the brand. I've sold Nordstrom ones. This one was Soma. I sold, I want to say it was like a Maidenform one. It was one of like the brands that you see at Macy's. They sell in a day. The Nordstrom one that I just sold had a hole in it. Disclosed. Had a hole in it, sold in a day. Silk nightgowns, check for condition. For sure, check for condition. These tend to be a little bit more damaged than a typical silk garment, but if you find one in great condition, pick it up, comfortably pay up for it. This sold so quick. And that is the experience I have all the time with silk nightgowns. Another one that I knew was going to be a really quick sale. This is the Quince silk slip skirt. I have sold quite a few of these. They have always sold, around the $20 to $30 mark. I want to say this one went for $25. I want to say that these are like $60 retail. They're not crazy expensive, but slam dunk pickup every single time. They always sell fast. I think the longest I've ever had one of these sit around for was like 3 days. So 100% not a fluke on this one. Next up, we have a little vintage Tommy Hilfiger sweater. If you see a tag that looks like this one, where you have the big flag in the middle, that tells you that it's vintage. And pretty much any vintage Tommy piece is going to sell. The louder, the better. If you get the big red and blue color block ones, those you're going to get into much higher prices. But even the little basics, this is just like a little classic cream sweater. This sold so fast and had a ton of interest over on Depop as well. I think I had 3 or 4 offers out on it on Depop, and it ended up popping off as a sale here. Not going to be a huge sale if you have a more basic piece, but vintage Tommy, red hot. Honestly, you go anywhere else in the world and one of the most popular vintage brands you will see is Tommy Hilfiger. It's like Tommy Hilfiger and Polo. So do make sure for like American heritage brands, you always have international shipping enabled. And finally, this cute little Y2K sweater dress from Sparrow. I sold 2 of these this year. So fast. This one sold in one day. This little Y2K dress from Sparrow, which is an Anthropologie brand, but I had this one and I also had a brown one. They're merino wool blend. Both of them sold in a day. Both of them. This is a very in-demand vintage silhouette, I guess. Let me know if you have ever had the same dress, but this is a vintage bolo. Who knew? Easy to miss for sure, but do check for moth holes on it because it does have that wool content. And that is it for eBay. All right, let's dive into Poshmark. So before we dive into Poshmark, I will note that there were 0 one-day or 0-day sales over on Mercari. And in the interest of time, there were quite a few bundles that you guys, my viewers, had purchased throughout the year. So I pulled those out just because that's going to be some pretty skewed data. And that's not going to help any of us out. All right, let's jump into the Poshmark 1-day and 0-day sales. And the first piece we have here is this nursing shawl from Quince. And full disclosure, I had 2 of these that sold in one day. I pulled the other one out because we don't need to see 2 of them. Basically, when you see something that is shaped like this, that's kind of asymmetrical and has a little split down at the end, that can be used as a shawl, but primarily that is to be used during nursing. So you want to make sure that you're using the term nursing in your title. And these, I've sold a bunch from Quince, I've sold a bunch from other brands, I've sold a bunch of no-name brands. They all sell pretty much within a week. So if you see them, grab them. You know, obviously the Quince ones were not a huge sale, but I had a similar one that was from a brand called We Are Amma, sold in, I think, 2 days for $50. So these nursing shawls are 100% a bolo. In terms of how much you're going to get for them, it depends on the brand, but if you're looking for velocity and you're getting them cheap, 100% you should be picking these up. Next up, we have this little piece from Urban Outfitters. I do not pick up a ton of Urban Outfitters. We talked about this with the kimchi blue, but this top, this kind of, they call these the souvenir shirts, and they have them in a bunch of different prints. I think that they are collectible on some level. I do think that this went to one of you guys. They're not going to sell for a ton of money, but I have had other souvenir shirts that have sold similarly quickly. So this style in particular is one to pick up. Again, make sure your costs are low on it, but if you see one of these guys cheap, pick it up because it will be a quick sale. Next up, this is a cute little linen piece from Reformation. Reformation for sure is a bolo brand. We all know that. This one in particular sold in one day, and I do think that it was a fluke that it sold in one day. Most of my Reformation pieces sell within a month, so you can reasonably expect most Reformation pieces to go within a few weeks. I do think that this was a fluke that it went as quick as it did, but still a bolo no matter what. And you'll get great prices on, and they're very pricey retail, and you'll get great prices on them on the resale market. Next up, we have this beautiful piece from Eileen Fisher. I think the thing that sold this piece in particular was the type of silk. I think that the silk was really unique. It's a very boho, very like distinctive looking piece. I think it might have been a fluke that it sold as fast as it did, but any kind of silk top from Eileen Fisher in a size large and above generally sells, again, within that 1 month range. So safe to pick up, safe to pay up for. Like I said, a little bit of a fluke that this one in particular sold as fast as it did, but what a beautiful piece. Next up, we have the boxy crop from Everlane. I have had a couple of these shirts in particular, this shirt in particular from Everlane, and it has sold so quick. It's a very standard Oxford shirt that's like boxy and wide, but it's kind of cropped off. It hits right at hip. This is one that I will always anticipate will sell within about a week for a great price. This is kind of a standout from Everlane. Some of the Everlane pieces these days have been slowing down and the prices have been dropping, but this top in particular is definitely a pickup when you see it. Comfortably pay up for it. This is a piece from Oh My Gauze. I'm pretty sure this went to one of you guys, But I wanted to keep it in here because I had a couple of pieces that I found from Oh My Gauze in one haul, and they all sold super, super quickly. So if this sold to one of you guys in one day, that kind of takes it off of the one-day sale list. But the brand itself is definitely one to keep your eyes out for. Everything I had from them sold super quickly for a decent price. Again, that like higher end of bread and butter. Super cute, great resort wear type stuff, lots of linen, kind of login-looky style silhouettes. So definitely a brand to be on the lookout for. A reliable fast seller for sure. Next up, we have some Ravenclaw robes. These were the older style robes. This is actually velvet, not like it's polyester, but it's not like the smooth polyester that you can get today. This sold in a day. Not surprised that it did. Anytime I've ever had a robe from Harry Potter, and I've had a few over the years, they've all sold super, super quickly. So pick them up if you see them. Just make sure you're not paying too terribly much for them, especially as you're leading into Halloween and like summer vacation time when people are going to the theme parks. People are looking for these at a bargain. They sell for like over $100 in the park. So pick them up if you see them. Also, let me know what house you are in the comments down below. I am a cusp Ravenclaw Slytherin, probably surprising to nobody, but leaning Ravenclaw. Next up, this is a cute little piece from By Anthropologie. Again, one of the lines from Anthropologie that sells very, very well for me. I think that this one was kind of a fluke that it sold as fast as it did. It's super, super cute though. It's linen blend, so it had a lot of things going for it that I knew would get it to move quickly. This is not the kind of thing that I would expect to sell in one day, but I would expect it to sell usually within a month. So a pretty safe bet. Definitely one to pick up. And always, always, always with Anthropologie and Free People, look for those more substantial fibers, your linens, your silks, etc. You know, with Anthropologie, for the most part, I'm trying to stay away from any polyesters, and I'm seeing more and more and more polyesters in their pieces, which I don't love. Next up, another Free People piece. This is a pair of intimately, basically pajama pants. This was like a viscose satin pant. Again, another one that I think is kind of a fluke that it sold as fast as it did, but definitely not something that I would have anticipated. But this is definitely not something that I would anticipate taking a super long time to sell. These kind of satin, wide leg pajama pants from good brands never, ever, ever last long in my closet. So this is a little piece from Quince. Now, Quince is kind of hit or miss. A lot of Quince pieces sell very, very well for me. Not all of them sell quite as fast as the others. The linen dresses in particular from Quince, the linen dresses and the leather bags sell the fastest. And of course the nursing shawls, we just talked about that. But these kind of linen dresses, I want to say that they retail like $70 or $80, but they generally tend to resell for a good percentage of that retail price. In fact, I think it was last year or the year before, Poshmark said that they were one of the brands that sold for the highest percentage of retail price on average, or at least one of the brands that did so. So keep your eyes out for the dresses. If you're finding like the linen pants or anything like that, make sure you're checking for wear. Their linen is not the most abrasion resistant, so you will see a lot of pilling in the pants, but the dresses are a pretty safe bet. I would make sure you run a comp before you pay up for them, especially if Quince is a brand that your thrift store is jacking the prices up on. But if you see this kind of stuff at the bins, for sure pick them up. This sold for $30, and that's about what I would anticipate for something like this from Quince. The price has come down a little bit, but it still has that demand, and they still sell pretty quickly. I don't even know where to list this because this is not anything that I have any kind of data on, but this is this ridiculous pair of pants from Sportmax. Sportmax is a brand you should 1050% always keep your eyes out for. It's a very high-end designer. They were silk to me. They look like diapers. Certainly not something that everybody could wear, but I had interest in these immediately. I think I had 4 offers out on them on Depop, and they popped off for sale here. I did not know how to price these. I have no other data, but just here to say that if you see Sportmax, pick it up, because their diapers sell. So I'm sure that their other garments will sell just as quick. Next up, we have this little kimono from Max Studio. And I see a lot of Max Studio. I don't pick up a lot of Max Studio. I've had you guys tell me that you do very well with Max Studio. So leave your experience down in the comments. God, we are losing daylight fast here. But I decided to pick this one up. I gave a try and it sold so quickly. It didn't sell for a huge amount. This one sold for $18. But again, if you're looking for that like high velocity sale, this might be a place to play. But guys, if you have more data on Mac Studio stuff, please leave it down in the comments so you can kind of supplement what I'm saying here if you have the same experience over and over again with their pieces. Also, let me know if I should be picking them up because I do see quite a bit of it while I'm outsourcing. Next up, this one needs no introduction. This is a Y2K vintage Abercrombie & Fitch embroidered low-rise denim skirt. And just like looking at this, I can't believe we wore this stuff out. But we did, and the girls today really want it. I picked this up. I paid up for this in the regular thrift store. I think I even paid a jacked up price for this, knowing what I had in my hands. And it popped off so quickly. And again, had a bunch of offers over on Depop. So if you see Y2K low-rise Abercrombie pieces, especially the mini skirts, especially if you can find the kind of kilt style mini skirts, grab them, pay up for them. The girls want them, especially as we're going into spring break and that kind of time of year. These kind of things will fly out of your closet for a great price. Next up, this is a boxy short sleeve sweatshirt from Sophie Dore. I did not know this designer before I picked this up. I picked this up because it felt so nice. This is one that I didn't even comp in store, but I was pleasantly surprised when I got home and I looked it up. Everything that I saw, super fast seller, sells for a very high price. So for sure, be keeping your eyes out for this label, super unassuming. You guys will feel the quality if you feel one of these pieces. Like this just felt so nice. But yeah, a bolo for sure. Next up, the most darling little baby's knit onesie here. This is from Ouf, which is French for egg. I'm sure I'm butchering that. Like very high-end little kids line. This one had a tag on it from The RealReal. So you know that if they're selling it at The RealReal, it's a high-end brand, but this sold so quickly, not surprised at all that it did. If you ever see anything from the brand, that's the label right here, for sure, pick that up. It's a bolo. Next up, we have this cute little anorak from LL Bean. I think that this might have gone to one of you guys, but it did sell in one day and I had a ton of interest in it the second that I hit publish. LL Bean is in general, unless you're getting like a really rare vintage piece, never going to be a super big sale in terms of dollars. They're not crazy expensive on the retail side, but certain pieces, especially like this, where you have this kind of classic old school gorp core color palette, they sell very well. Make sure for stuff like this you're using the term gorp core. That's GORPCORE, and pick them up comfortably. Now, if this is $16.99 at the store, I would run a comp and make sure, because at the price that it's going to sell out, you're not going to really have margin there. But if you're getting it at the bins or you can get it like under $10, this will be a very fast sale at a reliably solid price. Next up, this is another one that there are two of, so in the interest of time, I'm only showing you one. These are pieces that I had. This is from Pop Flex, just some little cropped, lightweight t-shirts. I had one in gray here, and I had another one in cream, and they sold as part of a bundle in one day. This is the little logo here that you're looking for while you're outsourcing. Great activewear brand. It's one of the activewear brands where the leggings still sell really well. They're very pricey retail, so be sure to keep your eyes out for them, and you should be able to find the name of the piece pretty easily, so make sure that you take the time to do that and list it, because people do, especially for PopFlex pieces, people do search for the specific product names. But a bolo for sure. Again, one of the things that you don't necessarily want to pay up too much for, but I don't think that this is going to be jacked up like a Lululemon will be. Next up, another great Eileen Fisher linen piece. This is vintage from the 90s and had the coolest like loose weave linen texture. It was like a wrap skirt. It was brown. It had everything style-wise going for it that people are looking for these days. And I don't know if this went to one of you guys. I don't think it did, but I had a ton of people on the haul that I showed this on ask about this skirt after it was already sold. So, keep your eyes out for those vintage 90s minimalist pieces, especially if you're finding them from like high quality sellers, because they are a good pickup. 90s minimalism is very hot right now. This is one that I picked up actually for myself, and I didn't love the way that it looked on me. This is from Lilka, which is an Anthropologie brand. Super cute, lightweight, had these beautiful bright print on it, which I absolutely loved. Pretty surprised at how fast this one sold. But once I had it listed and I was kind of pricing it out, I did see that this dress in particular just sold for a higher than average price and sold pretty quickly. So, I mean, I think that this one more or less is a fluke. This is just like a piece out of many, many, many from Anthropologie or Lilka that has some good demand to it. But yeah, a good piece, but I do think a fluke. This one is not a fluke. This is a Harley Davidson tank top. And this is actually like a cut off tank top that was like cut off by the person who owned it. I found this tank top like in full length. That being said, this is from Harley Davidson. It's like made to look weathered. This kind of stuff is red hot with like the Depop set right now. You want to make sure you use biker and Sturgis and Daytona Bike Week, all those kind of keywords in your listing, because this is the kind of stuff that people will pick up to wear to those events. But regardless, anything that I've ever had from Harley Davidson like this has sold so quickly. This is such a reliable seller. And it's very rare that I get my hands on anything like this, because this is the kind of stuff that the Bins Bros and the like Rose Bowl flea market sellers in my area are going for. So it's always a bit of a coup for me to get something like this, but not surprised. Anything Harley Davidson is a bolo. And my God, if you can get your hands on like the leather pieces, cash money. Cash money. Next up, this is a weird one. So this goes down in history as one of the weirdest collaborations I've ever seen in my life. This is Rourke, activewear company Rourke, and they did a collaboration with Motorhead? Question mark? You know, it's one of those things that was so unusual, I had to pick it up. Like, Rourke is a great brand. You should be picking up Rourke pieces when you see. They resell very fast and for a great price. But this was just so weird. I had to do it. I'm sure this was a very niche market, but like fans of Motorhead tend to be mildly fanatic. So I'm sure that there's some collectors out there looking for this kind of piece. This was just so weird. So weird and well made. That is precisely my milieu. Next up, okay, this is an interesting one to talk about. This is from Anna Sui's collaboration with Target. Now, Target collaborations are very hit or miss. More miss than hit these days. But there are certain collaborations that are in high demand, and this dress in particular from Anna Sui's collaboration with Target is one of those ones that people look for. Again, are you going to be getting $100 for something like this like you would get for something from Anna Sui? No, you're going to get in that higher bread and butter territory. But, you know, especially if you're seeing something like this in the bins, you should absolutely be picking it up. This dress in particular, I think, is highly sought after. And it sold super, super quickly. I think that this one sold within hours, if memory serves me right. So if this is something that you see a lot of, if you see a lot of collaboration pieces, I would take some time to like just search and see which collaborations sell better. Like Missoni, the Missoni collection sells really well. I've done well with a Lily Pulitzer collaboration. Strangely enough, better in the children's pieces than with the adult pieces. So there are some gems in there. You just have to kind of dig to know which ones are good. But I'm telling you right now, this little cutie from Anna Sui, great. Next up, we have this one from Pomander Place. This is a Tuckernuck house brand. Tuckernuck, all of their brands, Hyacinth House, Pomander Place, Tuckernuck, the eponymous brand, always, always, always a bolo. They sell for great prices. They sell super, super quick. They are like a smaller shop, but with very high demand. And their prices are quite high. I want to say most of their dresses are north of $150. Some of them go up to like $300 or $400. Beautifully made stuff. So really, any piece from any of the Tuckernuck brands, I urge you to take a little time to kind of poke around their websites, see what they sell. They sell other brands that are not their house brands, and if they're selling those brands, you should also be paying attention for those brands. But yeah, anything Tuckernuck, definitely a bolo. This sold in one day for $60, so I'll pick them up anytime I see them. Next up here, we've got this cute little stretch lace top from Free People. I actually found two different stretch lace tops on the same day from Free People. This one sold in one day. The other one, I think, sold in 3 days. And I think that this is one that was really affected by the trend of like non-traditional lace that's so big currently right now in like the fall winter fashion world. This is something that I definitely keyworded with unconventional lace and non-traditional lace, and both of them popped off as sales very, very quickly. I don't necessarily want to call this a fluke, and I think that this piece was a couple years old, but this is definitely a case of like recognizing an active trend in an older piece and making sure that it's keyworded for that active trend. When I do my runway roundups on Fashion Week, it's a good opportunity as you're going through your listings, as you're relisting them, to kind of see what pieces you already have that are fitting into these like emerging trends and making sure that they're keyworded. I think that's what happened with this one and the other one. This is a piece here from Pangaya, I think it's Pangaya. This is a casual wear brand that's all about sustainability. Very small brand, very high demand. They're pretty pricey retail. I want to say that this shirt in particular is about $110 retail. You know, this is obviously not a super significant piece, but when you get into their sweatshirts, you get into their more substantial pieces, they can go for really high prices. And any piece that I've ever had from them, I haven't had many, but every piece I've ever had from them has sold super quickly. Not necessarily one day, but usually within a week. So this is definitely a brand you want to keep your eyes out for. Next up, we have another piece from Negative Underwear. We're not even going to talk about it. We've already talked about this. This is the same robe that sold over on eBay, just in black. Pick it up, guys. If you see Negative Underwear, pick it up. Next up here, we have this cute little skirt from Abercrombie & Fitch. This is one that my mom found, and I got it in my hands in like the first or second week of December, and I told her, I'm like, I need to list this immediately because this is a Christmas skirt. So this is a case of getting the right item listed at the exact right time. And sure enough, before the end of the night, I had one offer on it, and it popped off as a sale. You know, again, this is just a case of a lot of things aligning, so a little bit of a fluke on this one. Just like we got the right item up at the exact right time. And that can really matter, as you can tell. Just two to go here, guys. Next up, we have this cute little jacket from Parsley and Sage, another one that my mom found. Parsley and Sage do these like artsy kind of art to wear type articles. And this was just a really cute little asymmetrical trapeze shape cardigan. I guess it is knit, so this is a cardigan. Parsley and Sage pieces like this that are a little bit more relaxed fit, they sell very, very well for me. I know a couple of you guys out there have said that you've done really well with Parsley and Sage as well. Again, not something that's going to sell for big dollars, but most of the pieces that I've had from Parsley and Sage that are in this vein have sold very, very quickly. And finally, we have this adorable vintage Cheongsam Kipao. I think I'm saying that right. I don't know. I've been talking for a really long time. But this is the kind of thing, vintage-wise, that I will pick up any time I see it. This was in perfect condition. The color was right. You know, for something like this, this was handmade, so I made sure to get like all the measurements. This silk is rigid. There's no give to it, so I made sure to take measurements like all the way down the dress. I always recommend that you do that with vintage pieces, but stuff like this that is so wearable right out of the box. This looks like it could have been made yesterday, despite the fact that it was definitely mid-60s or earlier. This kind of stuff sells very, very well. So while it's not something that you're going to see every day while you're out thrifting, it is something that you will see from time to time while you're outsourcing, and you should absolutely feel comfortable paying up for it. So gorgeous. But guys, that is it. That is every single one day and same day sale that I had in 2025. Hopefully this was helpful to you. I always love going through these and kind of like just jogging my memory on what was ultra successful this year and trying to figure out the patterns that emerge from it. So I know it's helpful to me. I hope it was helpful for you. Guys, I always appreciate you taking a little bit, or in this case, a lot of time out to hang with me and nerd out about some of these pieces. It means the absolute world to me. I love this little community that we're building. I love seeing you guys helping each other out in the comments. It just like warms me to the bottom of my soul. But guys, if you had fun, please consider leaving a like or a comment on this video. Of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. I would love to have you along on this journey. All of that helps me out so much with YouTube. And if you want to give Vendoo a try, remember that today through the end of January 2026, you can get 40% off of your first month using this code right here. If you're seeing this after the end of January 2026, you can still get 25% off of your first month using the link down in the description box below. But without further ado, guys, I hope you have the most beautiful week. Happy hunting, and I will see you all in the next one.